There's a moment in almost every connection where someone's imagination crosses a line their words never would. On the surface, everything still looks appropriate, polite, innocent. But underneath that surface, something has shifted. The mind has traveled somewhere the mouth isn't ready to admit. Somewhere physical, somewhere intimate, somewhere that changes the energy of every interaction that follows, even if nothing is ever said about it. Most people completely miss when this happens. They're so focused on words, on explicit signals, on waiting for someone to announce their intentions, that they overlook the confession happening right in front of them. The body doesn't lie. And when someone has started imagining what it would be like to sleep with you, their behavior changes in ways they're not even aware of. This isn't about wishful thinking or seeing signals that aren't there. It's about understanding what desire actually looks like before it becomes verbal. Because by the time someone tells you they want you, they've usually been showing you for weeks. Let's start with something that seems innocent but isn't. Touch operates on a spectrum. There's functional touch, the handshake, the tap on the shoulder to get attention, the brush past someone in a crowded room. This kind of contact is transactional. It serves a purpose and then it's over. The nervous system barely registers it. Then there's touch that has no practical function whatsoever. The hand that lands on your arm during conversation and stays a half second longer than necessary. The fingers that brush against yours when passing something and don't immediately withdraw. The contact that could easily be avoided but somehow keeps happening. When someone's imagination has gone to a sexual place, touch becomes exploratory. It's not conscious. They're not thinking, I'm going to touch him now to test the waters. It's deeper than that. The body is seeking information. What does his arm feel like? How does he respond to contact? What would it be like to touch more? Watch for touch that migrates. It starts safe, the arm, the shoulder, the upper back. But over time, if desire is present, it drifts. The hand lands slightly lower on the back. The touch grazes closer to the hip. The fingers rest on the knee instead of the arm. This migration isn't random. The body is moving toward what it actually wants, incrementally, testing boundaries without consciously deciding to test them. And here's what most people miss entirely. When this touch happens, watch her face. Is there a micro-expression of satisfaction? A slight softening? Does she seem to settle into the contact rather than moving through it? When touching you brings visible relief or pleasure, even subtle, her imagination has already gone far beyond that single point of contact. There's a particular kind of eye contact that reveals everything. Normal eye contact follows predictable patterns. We look, we acknowledge, we look away. Social rhythm. Nothing significant. But when someone is imagining sleeping with you, their eyes start doing something different. They travel. Not in an obvious way, not the cartoonish up and down scan. It's subtler than that. You'll be mid-conversation and her gaze will drift to your mouth. Linger there. Then return to your eyes as if nothing happened. Or you'll notice her eyes trace across your shoulders, your chest, your hands. Brief expeditions that she probably doesn't even realize she's taking. This is the visual system gathering data for the imagination. When we fantasize about someone, we need material. We need to know what their body looks like in enough detail to picture it. These glances are collection missions. The mind building a file it can reference later when you're not around. The most telling version of this happens when she thinks you're not watching. You look away, you check your phone, you turn to grab something, and in your peripheral vision, you catch her eyes on you. On your body specifically, not your face. When someone uses every unobserved moment to study your physical form, the question of whether they've imagined sleeping with you has already been answered. Pay attention to what happens when physical proximity increases. There's a physiological response that occurs when we're near someone we sexually desire. Heart rate elevates, skin becomes more sensitive, breathing shifts. The nervous system enters a state of heightened arousal. Not necessarily visible arousal, but a readiness, an alertness, an activation. This manifests in behavioral changes that most people misread. She might become slightly flustered. Words come out differently, either faster and more energetic, or slower and more careful. There might be self-touching, playing with hair, touching her neck, adjusting clothing. These aren't nervous tics, they're displacement behaviors. The body wants to touch something, wants to be touched, and in the absence of appropriate contact, it touches itself. Watch what happens when you lean in closer. Does she hold her ground or create more distance? When someone maintains proximity despite visible signs of activation, the slightly elevated breathing, the subtle flush, the restless hands, they're not uncomfortable. They're experiencing desire that has nowhere to go yet. The voice is particularly revealing. Sexual imagination affects vocal production in ways that are difficult to fake. The pitch often drops slightly. The pace changes. There's sometimes a breathiness that wasn't there before. Not performative, just physiological. When you notice her voice shifting specifically in your presence, specifically during moments of closeness. Her body is responding to thoughts she hasn't verbalized. Conversation topics tell you more than conversation content. When someone's mind has gone to a sexual place with you, they become preoccupied with certain subjects, not overtly sexual topics. That would be too obvious. But adjacent ones, romantic, physical, intimate. She might bring up relationships more often, dating, what she finds attractive, past experiences that reveal her preferences. These conversations serve a dual purpose. They're information gathering. She wants to know about your sexuality too. And they're door opening, creating context where intimate discussion becomes normalized. Watch for hypotheticals. What would you do if scenarios that edge toward the romantic or physical? Have you ever questions about experiences that require vulnerability to answer? These aren't idle curiosity. They're imagination seeking permission to expand. There's also a phenomenon where someone starts sexualizing neutral topics. A conversation about travel becomes about honeymoon destinations. A discussion about movies drifts toward romantic scenes. Food becomes sensual. Exercise becomes about bodies. When someone consistently steers toward the charged version of every subject, their mind is already operating in a sexual frame, and you're in the picture. Perhaps the most telling sign is often the most overlooked: the creation of isolation. When someone is imagining sleeping with you, they start, often unconsciously, engineering opportunities to be alone together. Group plans somehow become one-on-one. She suggests continuing the conversation somewhere quieter. There are invitations to contexts that don't require other people. Her apartment to see something, a walk, a drive, a quiet corner away from the crowd. This isn't necessarily about making something happen in that moment. It's about creating the conditions where something could happen. The imagination needs possibility to stay alive. Public spaces, group settings, crowded rooms. These are contexts where fantasy has to stay fantasy. But private space, alone time, that's where imagination starts feeling like potential. Watch for the effort she puts into creating these windows. Does she seem slightly more invested in making one-on-one time happen than the situation would warrant? Does she manufacture reasons why the group thing doesn't work, but the individual thing does? When someone is working to get you alone, even in innocent contexts, their imagination has already constructed scenarios that require privacy. There's a behavioral shift that happens once someone has mentally crossed the line into sexual imagination. Before that line is crossed, interactions have a certain casualness. There's nothing at stake. The energy is light. After that line is crossed, something changes. There's a new attentiveness, a heightened quality of presence. She seems more tuned into you specifically, your words, your reactions, your movements. This isn't generic social attention. It's focused, almost studying. This happens because you've become significant to her nervous system in a new way. When we sexually desire someone, our brain flags them as important, relevant, worth tracking. This manifests as attention that exceeds what the social context requires. Remembering small things you said, noticing changes in your appearance, being aware of where you are in a room. The contrast is what matters. How does she pay attention to other people versus how does she pay attention to you? If there's a meaningful difference in the quality, intensity, or consistency of her focus, you've been categorized differently. And in the context of everything else we've discussed, that categorization is likely sexual. Physical self-presentation changes around desired partners. This goes beyond basic preening. When someone is imagining sleeping with you, they become more aware of their own body in your presence, more deliberate about how they're positioned, more conscious of what they're presenting. Watch for posture shifts, the shoulders going back, the spine straightening, the body arranging itself in ways that emphasize rather than hide. This isn't vanity, it's display. The same instinct that operates throughout nature when mating is a possibility. Clothing adjustments become more frequent, not fixing things that are actually wrong, but optimizing, making sure things fall correctly, drawing attention to certain areas through seemingly innocent adjustments. The collar that needs fixing specifically while you're watching, the hem that requires smoothing, the hair that needs to be moved in a way that happens to expose the neck. And then there's the orientation of the body itself. When we desire someone, we face them fully. Hips square, feet pointed toward, everything open rather than angled away. This full frontal orientation is an unconscious signal of availability and interest. When someone consistently positions their body completely toward you, especially when the social context doesn't require it, they're communicating on a level beneath language. Let's talk about something subtle but significant: the response to accidental intimacy. Sometimes proximity happens by accident. You reach for the same thing. You stumble and catch each other. You end up pressed close in a crowded space. These moments are tests that neither party consciously designed. Watch what happens in the immediate aftermath of accidental intimacy. Does she pull away quickly, creating distance? Or does she not, Does she let the moment breathe? Does she seem reluctant to break the contact that circumstance created? Even more telling, what happens to her composure? Accidental intimacy with someone you're not sexually thinking about is a non-event. You laugh it off, move on, forget it happened. But accidental intimacy with someone you've been imagining, that's a collision between fantasy and reality. It produces a visible response, a catch in the breath, a moment of being flustered, a reaction that exceeds what the innocent accident would warrant. When small moments of unplanned physical closeness seem to affect her disproportionately, it's because those moments aren't small to her. They're previews of something she's been imagining. The timing of communication reveals a lot. When someone is sexually interested, they think about you at specific times. Late at night, first thing in the morning, during quiet moments when the mind wanders to pleasant places, and increasingly, the impulse to reach out follows those thoughts. Notice when her messages arrive. Is there a pattern of late-night contact, morning texts, random midday messages that don't have any particular purpose? This temporal pattern reflects when you're crossing her mind, and when you're crossing her mind says something about the nature of the thoughts. The content matters too. Messages that create intimacy without demanding it. Sharing things she doesn't share with everyone. Being vulnerable. Creating inside references that belong only to the two of you. This is the architecture of connection being built. And when someone invests in building that architecture, they're usually hoping it leads somewhere. Late-night communication in particular carries a charge. The context of those hours are private, intimate, often associated with the bedroom itself. When someone consistently reaches out during those windows, they're including you in the most personal portion of their day. Recognizing these patterns doesn't mean assuming anything is guaranteed. It simply means understanding when someone's imagination has already traveled somewhere, their words haven't followed yet, and deciding whether to meet that energy or let the moment pass. Because desire rarely stays hidden forever. It either finds a way to express itself, or it fades into something that almost happened. And when it does find a way to express itself, that's when behavior shifts again. The signals become less about private imagination and more about deliberate action. Less about what she's thinking and more about what she's doing to make something happen. The next video breaks down exactly what that looks like. The specific things women do when they've moved past imagining and into actively trying to seduce you.